Hey, this is Mark Williams with Swine Barbecue. Today I have a beautiful sirloin picanha. I'm going to show you how I cut these up in steaks. This is a great recipe if you're tired of just the old plain Jane ribeye and you want something different on your diet. This is the way to go. We're going to cook these today out there in the Weber kettle. We're going to set it up for kind of a reverse sear method. We'll bring these picanha steaks up to about 120, get them off, and then we'll get that fire really hot and get a perfect crust on the outside. Let's get started. So the first thing we got to do is get this whole picanha cut up into steaks. So what you want to do is look at your grain of your meat. You can see all that grain's running towards you. What you're going to have to do to cut these steaks is you're going to have to cut with the grain on this roast. So you just kind of find your grain and you can tell which way it's running. And then we're going to section off. I'm going to go about a 2-finger width cut on each one of them. So you just find your mark and you can tell right there, see, we've cut with the grain. And I know that goes against everything you've been told, but trust me, in the end, it's going to be perfect. Another 2-finger width. Lay that out. And this end one, you may have just a little coil piece, but that's fine. I don't mind eating that at all. There's not much trimming to do with these. You're gonna wanna leave this fat cap on here, because let me tell you, that's gonna be the best part of each bite. So we'll get them seasoned. So you can see now that we got them trimmed, these steaks have a ton of marbling in them. And what we're gonna do is we'll get them seasoned and of course get them cooked. But I know we cut with the grain. What we're gonna do in the finished product, you're gonna cut across the grain. They're gonna be melting in your mouth tender. It's gonna be an awesome flavor with all this marbling. Let's get some seasoning on them. So today we're gonna be running our very own Mississippi grit. It's just a salt, pepper, garlic based. A ton of people cook these and they just run a salt and that's perfectly fine. We're gonna try to get a little bit more flavor on them, just see how they turn out. So we'll start off with this little one. And I'm gonna go about a medium coat. We don't wanna really overpower it too much. And of course, y'all seen me a couple times. I got it on a cooling rack. That way it doesn't sit in that rub and it gets air all the way around it and it'll help really kind of dry brine these in a little bit shorter amount of time than we normally have. But make sure to get you a good coating of seasoning on that fat. So now that we got them seasoned, I'm gonna let them sit out on this cooling rack for about an hour. You can do this ahead of time and let it kind of dry brine in the refrigerator overnight. Just watch how much salt you put on it. You don't want to ruin these. A good light to medium coat on salt for overnight brine would be perfect. I did go a little bit heavier just because we're not brining as long. We'll go get this Weber kettle fired up and we'll be cooking here in about an hour, hour and a half. So we're gonna go ahead and fill this Sirloin sear all the way up with some royal oak charcoal. What I'm gonna do is just place a little starter cube in the corner. We want the Weber to be running about 250. That way these picanha steaks will come up nice and slow. And then once we get them off, we'll open the vents, we'll get these coals rolling hot, and then we'll get a good sear on these picanha steaks. I'm gonna go ahead and add a couple little pieces of pecan, and then we'll be cooking shortly. So this Weber's come right up to temp. We're gonna get these on. Got that pecan smoke rolling. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place them on here just like that. I'm gonna put the fat toward the fire. And of course that heat's gonna be coming down the top of that dome of that Weber. We're gonna put it toward that way. And of course a little chef's taste, it's going right over the fire. We'll eat that one in a few minutes. And then I got a Thermal Works dot. I'm gonna put it in the thinnest one just because I don't want to overcook the other ones. I'm gonna put this probe right here in this thinnest one and then we'll get the lid back on. So we got the dot set to 120. We'll keep a close eye on it. Once it gets to 120, we'll get them off, we'll get the coals good and hot and we'll get that perfect crust on them. So it's been about 30 minutes. We've got up to almost 90 degrees. So what I'm gonna do is rearrange them on the pit. This Weber's running a little warmer than I'd like, but we're just gonna give them a good flip. Now they're already super tender. Move them around a little bit and we'll just get the probe placed back in this one right here closest to the fire and then get the lid right back on. All right, so our buzzer's going off. Let's see where we're at. 120, 120, 124. We're gonna get these babies off. So you can tell that fat's done rendered on the end. We'll get them off and let them rest for a few minutes. That'll give this Weber time to come up and get up about 600 degrees and we'll get a really good crust on them. So now that these are rested, what you want to do is kind of pat and get some of that moisture off the top of them. During the resting process, it might push out a little bit of moisture. We're gonna do it to both sides. That way it'll help us get that really good crust. You can tell the rub stuck to the beef really well. It's not coming off on the paper towel. You're just getting the moisture off. All right, it's go time. I'm gonna sit this back here at the back and we're gonna get them on here. I'm gonna leave the lid off and just keep a close eye on them. We're gonna constantly be flipping them You might need you a good set of tongs for this. It's not gonna take but a few seconds on each side. If you get one that's starting to get a little bit too much sear on it, just move it off to the other side. You can see the top of that fat's bubbling. That's what I'm looking for. Of course, that roll oak lump's got this fire screaming hot. I'm gonna get this last one up. As you can tell, get it out here in the sunlight. That's a perfect sear. Got a good crust on both sides. Color looks great. We'll get these in here and let them do their final rest, and we'll get them cut up and ready to serve. So these picanha steaks have been here resting about 15 minutes. Now I will go ahead and tell you that last bit of that sear part is pretty intense, so you better have a good set of gloves on or a good set of tongs to go with it. So just a quick recap. We started off with a whole sirloin picanha. We cut these steaks with the grain, that way they was portioned out perfectly as you see here. Then your final cut's gonna be across the grain, and you know it's gonna melt in your mouth. We seasoned them with Mississippi grit, just a medium to heavy coat, put them on there, and we done the reverse sear process. We brought them up to about 120. Once they got to 120, we got them off and got that fire really rolling. And of course, as you've seen in this video, it was screaming hot and it was flames touching them. They smell great, you know they're gonna eat good. Now I always like to, on a good quality cut of beef, have a little bit of salt on the side. You never know, that salt may wake that flavor up, and you may have a guest that just really loves a little extra touch. So let's get after it. I'm gonna slide these out of the way. We got this one right here front and center. Let's see how we done. Go right there. Of course, that is a perfect medium rare if I ever seen it. And you can tell right here that fat got good and caramelized. You know it's gonna have an excellent flavor. And we'll cut one right here. And of course, they are packed full of juice. So I'm gonna get me a little bit of table juice right there off that cutting board and give it a go. The flavor of that beef is great. You can tell the end of that sear really complemented that fat really well. It got good and crispy and had an awesome flavor. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take this glove off and get a little sprinkle of salt just to really wake it up. Let's try me another piece, because I ain't lying, this is some fine beef. I don't know who wouldn't like that. That is all the flavor, the best ribeye I've ever had, but the texture of any filet. You can't beat that. It's good and tender, and that medium rare doneness really packs the moisture in there. That's a wrap for us today at Swine Life. We appreciate y'all checking this video out. If y'all got any questions, shoot us a message on Facebook or Instagram. And as always, like and subscribe to the channel. We'll see y'all next time.